Well, in the meantime, a conservative consumer group is making the shocking claim that instead of scaling back DEI policies, some companies out there are now sneaking them in under the rug under new names to dodge the Trump administration's crackdown. Joining us live to talk about it is Will Hild. He's the executive director of Consumers Research. That's the watchdog behind these accusations. Will, thank you so much for coming on. I was reading some of your findings here. It's pretty remarkable. We can pull up call for number one here. Some of the companies you found. One of them is Kohl's, and they changed their title of DEI to now essentially being belonging and inclusion. And they go on to say how important it is for them to be inclusive. Will, do these companies think like nobody's going to catch on to this?
Yes, it's very clear that these DEI grifters are desperate to keep the scam alive, and they're willing to try anything, including simply changing the title of the DEI department to something as ridiculous as an Orwellian as the Department of Belonging and Inclusion. But it's the same anti-white and anti-Asian discrimination policies that these companies have been operating in with the DEI department. In fact, they're not even changing the stock photos in many of the cases or the design of the websites of those departments. So it's pretty incredible, but it just goes to show you the lengths that they will go to not go get a real job instead of just engaging in this DEI grift. And
we're rolling some photos of some company logos. Some of the other companies that you guys found were doing this sort of rebranding to get away from the DEI stuff that includes UPS, Kohl's, Dollar Tree, Disney, Nationwide, UPS. In your opinion, what sort of penalties or consequences should these companies be looking at for trying to get around this DEI initiative?
They need to be looking at massive monetary penalties, if not criminal in some of the cases of the executives engaging in massive breaches of federal and state labor law, violating people's civil rights. This is not going to end until the federal and state governments and even tort plaintiffs, private plaintiffs, hold these companies accountable and these executives accountable, and they pay a price. And that's why we wanted to raise the alarm to these departments of belonging renaming, is because that's all it is. And don't think for a second that they have stopped engaging in this kind of behavior. Until you see changes in personnel and complete eliminations of these departments, these companies have not learned the lesson, and they need to be made to pay and pay heavily.
So it sounds like a lot of these companies are doing like these little stealth edits on their website. Nothing big, but enough to just kind of try to get around it. How are you guys catching these companies? How are you finding these little edits? Are you just going through every website and seeing the before and after?
That's really all it takes. These people aren't very smart and they aren't very clever. It really just comes down to keeping an eye on them. And hey, I remember we have this list of companies that were engaging in DI. Let's go see what they're doing now. And sure enough, some of the same people with the same stock photos, with the same titles, they've just changed it to Department of Belonging instead of Department of DEI. And so it doesn't really take that much. These people are not very smart, but they need to be made to pay a price. Just having some, comms person put out a press announcement, hey, we got rid of our DEI department, that can't cut it, because they're still engaging in the discrimination. And that's the key thing to remember here. And that's the key thing that federal officials and state officials need to keep in mind.
So now that you caught some of these companies with their hand in the cookie jar, have any of them responded to it in any way, shape, or form?
Well, every company we've ever gone up against, except for one, has never even responded to us. I don't think they want to give us more airtime. But a lot of them start deleting things off of their web pages. And so I wouldn't be surprised if after this segment runs, you start seeing a cavalcade of these websites got pulling down.
Yeah. Will Hild, thanks for coming on. It's some good work you guys are doing. And let us know if that list of companies you guys found grows any more in the coming days. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Will do. Thanks for coming.
Sandra?
Well, it's been